Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Mo aka Swedish Whiskey Girl, and today we're gonna talk Glenfiddich. And not just any Glenfiddich, it's Glenfiddich 15, the Distillery edition. As you can see, it's quite a big bottle. It's a 1 litre bottle. I got it at Edinburgh Airport in the travel retail. And this is a 15-year-old whiskey that's been matured in both American and Spanish oak casks. It also has a combination of both ex-bourbon and ex-El Rosso sherry cask maturation. It also sits at 51% ABV, which is kind of what it caught my interest, because most Glenfiddich sit at kind of a lower strength, because I mean, it's, I believe, the world's best-selling single malt, and I think most people have seen it, this kind of classic triangular shaped bottle. Glenfiddich is a distillery that sits up in Speyside, and I've actually been to the distillery. It's a great little tour. It's quite a stunning distillery, has all this greenery, and it's located in Dufftown, and I mean, it has a long history. It's been distilling since, I believe, Christmas Day in 1887, so I mean, it's been around for a long time. And of course it has this iconic stag on the bottle, which of course Glenfiddich means Valley of the Deer. And yeah, so when I was in travel retail, I was traveling to France, I believe, and I wanted to buy a gift to Cody as kind of I was traveling quite a lot, so I felt a little bit bad that I was leaving him, so I was like, here's a whiskey we can enjoy that at some point. And we've just opened it the other week because I got to try a sample of it, and I thought it was really interesting and I really liked it, so I thought it would be a good one. And yeah, the higher strength made it interesting as well, and I mean, Glenfiddich makes nice whiskey, and yeah, it was just a different one I wanted to try. And of course, I actually have a bit of a Glenfiddich comparison coming up soon, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that one. And of course, if you have any travel retail bottles that you've bought, please let me know which ones you have tried in the comments below. I'd love to hear what your suggestions are. But let's start by having a little look on the notes on this whiskey. I think the first thing you think of is that iconic Glenfiddich pear note. It's quite a fresh, like springtime pear. It's quite an earthy pear. There's a sweetness there as well. Yeah, a little bit of a kind of earthy leather notes. Maybe a little bit of a floral note as well. Like floral earthy leather mixed with that pear, juicy pear notes. Maybe a little bit of a citrus, kind of a lemon peel. Gorgeous notes, and I think it feels like a very juicy Speyside fruitiness. Yeah, it's that kind of floral leather mixed with fresh springtime pears. When I say springtime pears, I don't mean underripe pears, but more like the floral note makes me think of springtime, and in combination with the pears, it just makes it feel like springtime pears. But they're still very kind of sunripe and juicy pears, I would say. I'm just trying to put my finger on exactly what the sweetness is, because it's a fascinating one. It might just belong to those pear notes. Yeah, but quite sweet and fruity, definitely. Now I don't have the 12 here to compare it to, but I would say it might be slightly more robust than the 12. It's like that leather notes come in and make it a little bit heavier. It still feels very fresh and kind of light and airy. But let's have a little sip. Slanjama. I mean, the reason I bought this was that I got to try a little sample at kind of the counter in travel retail here in Edinburgh Airport, and I tried it and I was like, this is so juicy. It's so, like, all the flavours come together and all the flavours taste good. Because sometimes when I try a whiskey, I try it and I get these different flavours, and there might be one or two that I'm like, that one might not be what I tend to like a lot, or sometimes travel retail whiskies to me feel a bit rushed, and it feels like they just need something in travel retail, but it doesn't always feel so thought through. I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe I've just had bad experiences with bad examples, because obviously they don't come across travel retails that often. So I tried a few different ones and it was like, yeah, that one's, yeah, it's nice, but it's not. When I want to shop in travel retail, I want one to stand out and be like, you have to buy me here because you can't get a hold of anything that's like me anywhere else. And also very good price. But sometimes when you try travel retail from a distillery, there might be an expression that's nicer, or there might be an expression that is pretty much the same. You see what I mean? It's just, I want it to be something special, and I want it to kind of wow me a little bit, to be like, I'm gonna buy this bottle because I know I will enjoy it, and I will take it home and be like, look what I find in travel retail, you can't really find this anywhere else, and it's just a little bit of a special experience, which I thought when I tried this at the airport, which is why I thought this will be a good one. And I kept coming back to it because I was like, no, I don't really want to buy anything, it's unnecessary. But then I just kept coming back to it, and I was like, do you know what, I'm just gonna buy it, because they have this great thing, of course, you can buy it and then pick it up on your way back, because I didn't really want to bring it to France and then have to bring it back again because I was working as well, and just a bit of a faff. But yeah, so I got it, and I'm really happy, and every time I try it, I expect it to be worse than I remember it to be. But every time I try it, I'm like, no, do you know what, I really like this, because it has such a juicy flavour, like a juicy Speyside, but I think the higher ABV makes it feel a little bit heavier, like a little bit more of a hot kick. So it's, I mean, it's gonna be interesting when I do the Glenfiddich comparison, that I might have a little sip of them next to this one as well, just to kind of see what I think, but good whiskey this. It's kind of spicier than you would expect it to be if you've tried maybe the Glenfiddich 12, which is quite smooth and fruity. But yeah, a little bit of that leather notes definitely coming through on the palate, slightly earthy, but still this kind of big, intriguing pear note. There's definitely a sweetness there, balancing those kind of leather notes, but it's definitely like a pear sweetness. But it also has something that almost makes me think of a mixture between sun-ripe fresh pears and like a pear candy note. And the sweetness is quite like really, really sweet pears, because it's almost sugary, but it's like fruit sugary, so like fructose, is that what it's called? And yeah, it feels very fresh, but the leather note kind of makes it land a little bit more, so it doesn't feel so airy. It feels more airy on the nose, I would say. Yeah, definitely more airy on the nose, but then it kind of lands a little bit more with that leather note. It just makes it a little bit more robust. I think someone who might enjoy the flavours of Glenfiddich, that kind of pear note, the fruitiness, the kind of Speyside-y loveliness to it, but might think that that is a little bit too, almost too smooth and too easy, and you want a little bit more of a challenge, just a little bit more of that kind of heavier feeling, then this might be a great way to kind of enjoy the same aromas, but in I don't want to say a more difficult way, because it's not difficult, it's really yummy, but I know a lot of whiskey drinkers that have experienced a lot of whiskies and that might be very used to it, and they're always looking for a new experience, and they might enjoy certain flavours but they almost think it's too easy, or they might try a blend and it's like it's too easy, it's too smooth, and if it's bottled at 40% or 43%, it might almost feel watered down, or it might, I mean, it always depends on what you compare it to, and I mean, I wouldn't turn my nose up at something just because it's bottled at 40%, but I know some people might, which is personally, like, it's just up to personal preference. But I think if you just want something that it's a little bit higher of an ABV and a little bit more robust, but still those yummy Speyside flavours, then maybe check this one out the next time you're travelling. Of course, in these times, please travel safely and please just be careful, be safe. But if you are travelling at some point and you find this one, I mean, at least ask for a sample. I mean, it's I had a bit of a wow experience with this one, and I mean, I guess you can tell I like it, but it's yeah, maybe one of the best whiskies I had last year because of that experience with it. A bit of spiciness, but it's mostly the wood spiciness, and the spices feel almost a slightly bit vegetal as well. Maybe a little bit of apple peel, so it's this kind of fresh pear mixed with a little bit of apple peel because it has a little bit more of that vegetal, maybe slightly more heavy, dense notes. Quite sweet, but still quite fresh, but landed and a little bit more robust because of the leather notes that come through. And the spiciness belongs to the oak, and it's a little bit more vegetal. Does that make sense? And of course, because it sits at 51% ABV, let's add a little bit of water and see what happens as well. And this is of course also non-chill filtered. Really changed to a pear candy note now. Like a pear jelly note. The sweetness seems more dense, which is I think probably why I think of pear jelly candies more. Yeah, but I think it's just alcoholic pear jelly candies at the moment. I think the leathery notes kind of disappeared slightly, and yeah, it's hiding underneath. Well, let's have a sip. Slàinte. More oaky now, spicier. The pear note on the palate for me is kind of, so if it's like pear oakiness, then it's just gone like this. Quite a lot, because the pear note is much less dramatic now, and the oakiness and the spice comes out, but it doesn't feel that spicy on the finish. It's just this initial kind of oakiness that just comes out and grows. Still a little bit of that pear fruitness there. It's like, just gives it a little stamp, like Glenfiddich pear stamp. But the oakiness does come out a lot more. It kind of balances it out a bit. I mean, if you like a little bit more of that kind of oaky push to it, then maybe you would enjoy it more with water. I like how alive and fresh it felt without the water. So I might say that I prefer this. Let's add a little bit more water just to see what happens, because you never know. Now it's more like a pear liqueur instead of that jelly candy pear. Like more sweeter and more crisp. The oakiness settled down a bit more. I think now it reminds me more of what I think of when I think of Glenfiddich 12. It's easygoing, it's pear-like, more pear candy probably, but like not pear jelly candy, but just pear candy, just generic artificial pear notes. And it's just easygoing, it's just Speyside-y. That robust note from the leathers kind of disappeared a bit, but it's just easy to sip. Yeah, it's that Glenfiddich pear stamp that just leaves you wanting more. I don't know, but please let me know. Please let me know, of course, as well if you've tried this one or if you have any other travel retail whiskies that you would recommend. I always love hearing your thoughts and seeing what you would recommend to me. And of course, if you like what I'm doing here on YouTube and my other social channels, I would be absolutely over the moon if you consider using my affiliate links the next time you're shopping with either Master Malt, the Whisky Exchange, or the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. All the information is of course in the description here below, as well as links to my Instagram, my Patreon, my Teespring shop, and my website if you're curious about that. But I hope you've all had an absolutely wonderful day. Slán Skål!